So when you think about it, you listen to a podcast, because podcasts, you can listen to it in the gym, you can listen to it in your car, you can listen to it while you taking your morning walk, walking your dog, walking the kids, whatever. Podcasts are here. And podcast is an evergreen platform to where the information is going to be out there, but you have to be able to have the tools to get to that point. All right. So this is the intro video. We're going to talk about everything we're going to cover within the next 12 days. And then we got to make sure that we got some helpful tips and things that can help you scale your business, scale whatever business you, because listen, podcast leads into businesses, businesses lead into money, money leads into financial freedom. If you want that financial freedom, this is where it's at. All right.
Welcome to the Social Mojo Podcast, the place where entrepreneurs and creatives come to discover the secrets behind building a powerful, engaging brand without spending a fortune. Let's meet the host, Mr. Anthony Porter, your guide on this journey to harness the power of organic social media. In each episode, we dive deep into the strategies that work, sharing insights, actionable tips, and success stories from experts and trailblazers who've done it all. From planning your content with precision, growing your audience authentically, to monetizing your passion effectively, we've got you covered. So, whether you're just starting out or looking to elevate your social media game, stay tuned. Because here at the Social Mojo Podcast, we're all about making your brand unforgettable, organically.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's your man, Anthony Porter, here with the Social Mojo Podcast. Today, we're doing a little something different. Actually, we're doing an entire week series. 12 days. Maybe it's 2 weeks. Maybe it's a little bit more than 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks and 2 days. All right. So we're going to do a 12-week series. And that series is called Impactful 12 Days of Podcasting. What is an impactful 12 days of podcasting? We're going to break down on this particular intro video. We're going to break down what this 12 days includes. So this is going to be episodes that are dropped. Like, did you see, we're watching the intro now. Tomorrow will be another video. The day after that, it'll be another video. The day after that, it'll be another video. The day after that, and so forth and so on, right? So the reason for this is we want to help you 10x your audience in a little over a year. We want to give you the tools that we've gained, we've watched, we've studied, we've picked up and impacted the podcast, the Social Mojo Podcast. So we want you to get that. We want you to get your listeners hooked on your podcast within 90 seconds. And then we want to talk about monetization. All right. And it's so much more that we want to get into. We also want you to understand this, that every business, every influencer, every creator, every entrepreneur needs a podcast. There's no getting around that. Podcast right now is the new airwaves, the new radio. Whether it's audio or video, it's the new way to go. We get more information through podcasting than the news gives you. And it's crazy to say that but it's so true. Like, we get more information from podcasts than we do from the news people. But even the newscasters are getting into podcasting. You have your news, and then you have your extended information that comes in. So podcasting is everywhere. It's not going nowhere. It's the wave of the future. And what's so great about it, one of the parts of monetization is now you can literally monetize your information that you already have in your head, and somebody else possibly that you know of could be needing. So when you think about it, you listen to a podcast, because podcasts, you can listen to it in the gym, you can listen to it in your car, you can listen to it while you taking your morning walk, walking your dog, walking the kids, whatever. Podcasts are here. And podcast is an evergreen platform to where the information is going to be out there, but you have to be able to have the tools to get to that point. All right. So this is the intro video. We're going to talk about everything we're going to cover within the next 12 days. And then we got to make sure that we got some helpful tips and things that can help you scale your business, scale whatever business you, because listen, podcast leads into businesses, businesses lead into money, money leads into financial freedom. If you want that financial freedom, this is where it's at. All right. If you want that financial freedom, doing a podcast. If you got the gift of gab, I love to talk. If you got the gift of gab, this is where it's at. So without no further ado, let's talk about the 12 days we're going to talk about. So lesson 1, what we're going to talk about with the Mojo podcast series is You got to have a successful podcast ladder. All right, so we're talking about the 4 skills that you're going to need that must be stacked in order to achieve growth and monetization. That's going to be on day 1. We're going to talk about the 4 skills required for you to have a successful podcast starting out. Now, this is to start, grow, and scale. All right. So, we're definitely going to cover that. Lesson 2, we're going to talk about defining your ideal customer, which is your target audience. All right. You need to know how to define your audience. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard to sit back and try to define your audience when you really don't know how to define them. So we're going to break that down. But here's a quick news flash for you, all right? Think about this. You don't know who your people are because you're defining it the old way. See, back in the day, like when Pat Flynn started and Tim Ferriss and all of, and listen, I look up to these guys. These guys are truly amazing podcast host, but the way that, like, especially with Pat Flynn teaches you a very intriguing way. All right. He teaches you the old way. The old way is you going off of the demographics. Nowadays, we're talking about the psychographics. As the generational eras chime in and change, everything changes. So in day 2, we are definitely going to discuss how to achieve an audience clarity by learning the new way to define your audience. All right. Part 3, declaring the listener's mission. Now, people want to listen. People won't listen to your podcast until they know exactly who the hell you are. All right. See, having your podcast gives you the freedom to be you, to be who you are, to do what you need to do. But at the same time, in order for you to do that, you have to be able to have people who know who you are, what you do, resonate to them. You have to get into them. You have to be able to get down and for them to understand exactly what it is you're talking about. So in day 3, you're going to learn how to quickly convey your listener's mission via a 10-word tagline. Now, in this day and age, since AI is coming into play, AI is going to help us out with a lot of these lessons. Sir, we got some prompts for you. All right, we got some situations for you. We're going to let you have everything here is free. All right, this is a free, what you want to call it, a master class. This is a free 2-week training, okay, to help you grow. We want you to grow your podcast within 30 days so you can get out there, you can start maneuvering and getting that money. All right, number 4, day 4, choosing the right format. Now, everybody is like, well, I don't have time. Listen, you don't have to keep the same format. Remember, this is a new day and age. You can put a podcast message together. If it's 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. If it's an hour, it's an hour. But the average is 45 minutes, right? Wrong. The average is however long you feel like your message needs to be heard. Whatever it is, if you want to pack it into a quick 10 minutes, pack it into a quick 10 minutes. Now, if you want to take it, if it's a daily podcast, you want to do that, man, make it 15 minutes and just stretch everything out, over time. So in day 4, we're going to learn how to better way to take your listeners' time and that your listeners like more. So in other words, we want to flip it. We want them to like you more, and we're going to give it to them in less time. All right. So day 5, we're going to hook them. It's like going on the lake. I got buddies right now. It's summertime's coming, and they trying to get to the lake. Hook your listeners in. You have to hook them. Man, you got 3 to 5 seconds for these folk to get in here. All right, 3 to 5. So once you hook your listeners in, all right, you might have a podcast with content that is able to get across the world. But if your episode intro stinks, guess what? You have 0 listeners. So in day 5, you're going to learn how to podcast at 20K% listeners in 90 days by just fixing the intro. I got a buddy who did this. He gained 20,000 more clicks, views, and downloads by changing his intro. All right. And there are a ton of ways to do it. Number 6, we're going to be holding on to the listener's attention. Once you hook them, you got to keep them. So you've got to have listeners hooked in. It's plain and simple. You got to have them hooked in, all right? But how do we do that? How do you hook your listeners' attention throughout an entire podcast? Well, the answer's going to come right as you're asking. We're going to hit you with a simple question, all right? And once you get that question answered, because it's right there in front of you. We just don't know how. I didn't know how to get it until I had to sit down and I had to go through a couple courses. Then I started paying attention, and then I used certain things, and I'm like, boy, there we go. There it is. Now they're listening. Now we're doing good. And each day, as you go, you will learn that growing your podcast just doesn't start with you or stop with you making your first video, because every day something different has to cultivate. Whether it's audio, whether it's video, it doesn't make a difference. All right. So now, day 7, we're gonna talk about getting the listeners to press play. You could have produced the best ever, but if you don't know how to package your episodes up in the right way to get people to press play, it'll never happen. They'll never get heard. All right, so day 7, we're going to cover how to win the play. We're going to discover how to win in that moment. Like, in this generation, everything is right then, right there. They want it right then. They want it right there. They want it right now. We're going to figure out how to win the play. The game win, the game on the line. 3 seconds left. What we going to do? We're going to win the play. All right. Number 8, we're going to talk about one of the things I'm very passionate about, and that's growing via social media. All right. This lesson is all about the audience growth. We're going to tackle social media. Now, for most people, they want to tackle every aspect of social media. What you need to do is pick 2 to start with. Your main one and your secondary. And I know this is going to sound cliche, but as you're say you're making a video podcast, right? Even if you're not making a video podcast, say you're making an audio version of your podcast. Did you not know that the content that you make can be broken down? So one video, one podcast, one episode can turn into 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 different pieces of content. You didn't know that? We're going to show you how we get down, how we do that. And then there's another way that you can grow through social media, and that's growing via podcast guesting. And this is day number 9. Number 9, you might have heard podcast guests that are just like killing it. Like, for instance, if you ever watch, like, there's a guy that I follow on YouTube, Instagram. It's 2 of them, matter of fact. It's David Shands, and it's Nehemiah Davis. Nehemiah Davis has started the Circle of Greatness podcast. I love listening to it. David Shands has tons of people come on and give you tips on business ventures. But what has gotten to be my best time to watch him and his co-host, Miss Donnie, is that they literally do a show called The Hot Seat. Oh, that is so funny. That is so funny. Now, with us at the Social Mojo, they're the social proof. They hitting it at all targets. I'm focusing on one, and by me focusing on one, that sets me apart from everybody else. Name-wise, it sounds similarly close, but it's similarly not, because we're trying to help you get your mojo. They're putting you out there so you can get the information out. Mine is a solo podcast starting out, but I will be doing guest interviews. I have to. There are so many people out that need to have, in my city, that need to be heard, but not only in my city, but worldwide. So I'm reaching out to a couple of guests via email and DMs, and we're going to get it cracking. But as of right now, we're going to talk about Lesson 9, guest podcasting. And it's the reverse, because you could be on their podcast. So it can be worked out as a mutual flip for flip. Okay. Lesson 10, we got to talk about the only way to monetize. You got to understand the only way to monetize is 1 or 2 things. Hey, in day 10, you'll learn what that is and how we do it. I can't say how everybody else does it, but how we do it. Lesson 11 is the science of an effective call to action. Now, that's important. Day 11 is definitely going to be important because we're going to talk about how you push your customers to take action, how you push your listeners to take action. And once they take action, the proof is in the pudding. I've watched so many podcasts grow when I sat back and didn't want to do jack. Now it's time for you to understand because I'm doing jack and I've been growing. And I want you to grow right along with me. This is not about me. This is about you. So day 11, we're going to come up talk about the effective way to have a call to action. And then last but not least, you're going to have the irresistible call to action. So that's day 12. Once you come up with an effective call to action, you got to know how to put it out there so everybody can be effectively influenced to click a button, to download an episode, to get to your premium content, no matter where you have it at. All right. You got to have the irresistible call to action. Once you have an irresistible call to action, boom, it's out the park. For those who understand what I'm saying, home run derby. All right. So with that being said, I just want you to understand the 12 days is here. We are going to be effective. We are going to be efficient, and we're going to make sure that we get you to that point. But that doesn't stop you from taking this call to action right here. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube podcast. Find us on Apple Music, Spotify, all the streaming platforms. But be sure you tune in to the 12. Be sure to tune into the 12 days of podcasting. All right. We're going to get it cracking. And once we get it cracking, it's going to be a beautiful thing. All right, it's your man, Anthony Porter, with the Social Mojo Podcast. We're trying to get that mojo back. I'm going to holler at y'all, man. Peace.
And that wraps up another episode of the Social Mojo Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending your time with us today. We hope you found our conversation insightful and engaging. Don't forget to subscribe to the Social Mojo Podcast on your favorite platform, and be sure to download the episodes so you never miss out on our latest content. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us continue bringing you great discussions every week. A special thank you to our incredible executive producers, Sincere and Charlie Straughter, Rhea Cash, and Theory Porter. Your vision and dedication make this podcast possible. Remember, the Social Mojo Podcast is a proud part of the Amplified Pod Academy, where we strive to amplify voices and share stories that matter. Until next time, stay connected and keep the mojo flowing. Bye.